6. Thank you. All right. Talking about digital identities, I try to relate to my CryptoPunk as best as I can and try to bring it into the digital world as my own digital identity. And our next panel coming up is going to be talking about how NFTs empower a new digital identity and creator economy. Come on up, my friends.
All right, thank you everybody for coming. I appreciate your presence here. Just going to start off really quickly by introducing everybody on the panel. My name is Brian Piper. I work at the University of Rochester in Rochester, New York. I'm also involved in the Ed3 DAO, which is focused on educating educators about Web3.
Thanks, Brian. My name is Chris Hart. I'm the CEO at Civic Technologies. We are a Web3 identity company. We create tools for both individuals to bring together elements of their identity, whether that be blockchain or that you've done verification, you've done KYC, and then we allow businesses to actually request that information from users for the purpose of gaining access to things like gated events or getting through into age-gated kinds of experiences, that sort of thing. So we're kind of in the middle between retail and businesses, and we've been doing that since about 2017.
My name is Jules Dudko. I'm the founder and CEO of Frequency. Frequency is a Web3 first agency. We build brands and communities.
Hello, hello. My name is Wojtek. I'm a founder of Mazure, and we aggregate a lot of Web3 credentials into identities, and we help companies hire better crypto-native talent based on this. We built the largest search engine for decentralized identities till to date. And yeah, I'm very excited to chat today.
So today we're talking about using NFTs and how they will empower your digital identities as well as the creator economy. So let's start off by talking about how NFTs can help create your digital identities. Chris, you want to start with that?
Yeah, sure. I think something really interesting has happened in the last few years, which is the definition of NFT has really grown beyond this idea of it's a digital JPEG that you can take and collect. And now NFTs are starting to be recognized for what I think they really are and what they're useful for, which is to be a credential that can represent a fact about an individual or an institution. So when I think about where digital identities are going with NFTs, I really think about a few different things. It's who you are, it's what you have, and it's also what you've done. And so when I say it's who you are, it could be the PFP if you're, a punk collector or a DGen Ape or SMB, and you want to represent yourself as a PFP, that's part of it. That's part of who you are. But the other part of who you are might be your Twitter handle, your Discord handle. It could be that you've gone through an identity document verification. Maybe you've scanned a passport at some time, or you've scanned a driver's license. So all these elements of who you are, very importantly, only can and should be shared at your complete discretion. So I think it's really important that we maintain this notion in Web3, which is essential, which is you got to be able to have privacy. If you want to be anonymous or pseudo-anonymous, you should have the ability to do so. And so I think it's also what you own. Today, that's NFTs. Tomorrow, it could be the title to your house. It could be the deed to your car. Any of these kinds of structures that imply ownership. And then third, what you've done. Have you participated in DAO votes? Have you minted certain NFTs? Have you shown up in real life at an experience? All these different things are wrapped around NFTs in a really interesting way. And I think identity is core to all of that, but also I think the NFT space is growing in all kinds of directions, metaverse and otherwise.
Jules, what do you think about that?
I completely echo Chris's sentiments. I think there is a cultural lens that many people didn't expect when it was first considered to be art. But now, with membership and communities that you can be part of, it really is something that is growing much larger than we all expected.
Absolutely. Wojtek?
Yeah, I think Chris said it all. I think it's for the past year, we had this explosion in usage of credential NFTs, especially with POAPs, with some other, learning-based NFTs rewards. So yeah, it's exciting to see how these digital collectibles help you represent yourself on the internet. It's gonna be fun. There's not much more to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the education space, we're really looking at using your NFTs as your identities for your diplomas, your certifications, any experiences, any learning that you've done, both as a student and as a teacher, as a professor, so that you can have stored in your digital wallet all of the proof of your knowledge, of your experiences that you could then use as part of a digital resume moving forward. So that when you go to a business to apply for a job, you can just share your educational experiences with them as part of your wallet, as part of your digital identity. And you can't, fake your resume anymore or put things on there that you didn't do. So now those can all be verified in the blockchain. And then they can actually look out on the landscape within the different blockchains to see who has the credentials that they're looking for. So they may be able to reach out to you without you necessarily having to submit your resume. So what do you think about the differences in the way that users are going to be able to manage their own data and manage what they put into their digital identities? How do you think that's going to change our perspective of digital identities? Because right now, digital identities are very scattered, very siloed. You have your Twitter identity, your LinkedIn identities. They're all over the board. How do you think it changes once you can actually start collating those into a single digital personality? Jules?
I think digital identities in Web3 and beyond are really going to change everything from the way we create, own, communicate, transact, security. I think if you're looking at the numbers of Second Life, their GDP was 650 million, which of that 80 million was paid to creators. Right, so I think as we're looking at digital identities as a whole, that also opens up a completely new workforce. Where the creators will be able to have complete self-autonomy, and in my mind will really be the supply and demand of the blockchain.
Absolutely. Wojtek?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because in the traditional internet Web 2 world, we keep leaving as much data as possible everywhere, and there's definitely too much of it, and the tough UX with using Web3 tools right now is both blessing and a curse. And curse because it's hard to use, but blessing at the same time, we don't put too much stuff on the blockchain that is gonna be irreversible to do that in the future. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. People have to be very thoughtful, especially applications developers will have to be really thoughtful. Not to criticize precisely, but for example, there was this funny case for this event. I think each of us got an NFTs for for participation, and I'm not sure, but I think there was my name assigned to that, and I'm not comfortable with this being anywhere on the blockchain. So yeah, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. And yeah, I think I don't have an answer where it's gonna be moving, because NFTs are really fun and really cool, and people definitely once they can collect them for free, people love to collect them. But probably standards like verifiable credentials can be also very interesting in the future, where you own the data and you store it off chain, but it's still signed by you. It's still owned by your Ethereum address. So yeah, future of that will be interesting.
Yeah, I think just echoing, I think what some of my panelists have already said a little bit, and maybe expanding on it. There is a shift now to more of an ownership mentality by individuals around their identity. Up till now, I think identity was something that really happened to you. It's not something that you actually had agency over. And what I mean by that is the big data conglomerates, the Facebooks, the Googles, but more than that, the credit agencies who decide if you can get a car loan or if you qualify for that house. Experian, Equifax, TransUnion in the US have been the arbiters of identity. And I think what we're now seeing is consumers are starting to say, wait a minute, if I have assets, I should be able to go to a lending protocol, put assets in there, and receive money in turn for those assets that I'm locking up, because I know they're useful to you. You're essentially a bank, and I should be able to receive that interest. And is there any reason why I shouldn't be able to get that loan if I have the assets? So I think we're starting to see users recognize that their identity has value, And this is a total paradigm change for all the big tech firms who are monetizing our eyeballs and our attention, and that's the way they're making money. They're gonna have to find a new way to make money. I won't bore you with the Twitter drama that's going on right now. Everybody's reading about that.
It's not boring.
Yeah, they're trying to find new ways to make money, but I mean, it's a revolution in identity. Brian, I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I think, being able to control what we let other people see, what data that we decide to share, it really provides us with the opportunities for the ultimate in personalization, where now instead of the retailers collecting all the information on us and telling us what they think we want, we can share what data we want to share with them, and then that way allow them to personalize based on what we want to see. So I think the opportunities that are that exist based on our control of our own data and what we decide to share with who is going to change the entire paradigm of data management and of personalization in marketing, in community building, education, across the board.
And if I could just add one thing, which is the central arbiters of identity right now, it's not like they're doing a good job. They're blowing it. How many data breaches have there been of all of our personal data? So many, over and over again. And so right now, I think there's a moment where there's an opportunity for us to say, you haven't done a good job. We're gonna take this back from you. I don't know if anybody followed this LinkedIn story the other day. It was crazy. There was 500,000 people on LinkedIn claiming Apple as an employer. And they went through and they cleaned that out. Well, guess how many people they removed? Half. 250,000 people. Same thing for Amazon. They removed 1/3 of the total people. Binance said, CZ said, hey, there's 7,000 people who say they work for Binance on here. 50 are true, 50. So yeah, they're not doing a good job with identity. We need to take it back. I think NFTs are part of that path, and especially from an identity point of view, the soul-bound NFTs become really important. As long as you're not putting verifiable credentials on chain, don't do that.
Yeah, like about the first point. It's really funny that this that you can use NFTs as like verifiable proof that like nobody can claim that it's false or true. It's there, and like you can use it to identify yourself. And yeah, the case with LinkedIn strikes home, especially because what we are working with on Mazure is like creating profiles based on what you actually did and like verified data and what you collected over the years. So maybe I'm gonna ask you a question. What do you think? If we want to like minimize the personal information on chain in form of NFTs, how would you solve like a case with work experience to represent your past work experience to show to others in a way that will not destroy your privacy on the internet?
So I would think about something like a true separation between verifiable credentials and soul-bound tokens or NFTs. Okay, soul-bound tokens are NFTs, right? Same thing roughly.
Depends on the implementation.
Okay, but you could make the argument that they are very similar.
Yeah, right now, yes.
I would think of something like, okay, if you're a developer, you could have a verifiable credential that says the number of GitHub repository check-ins that you've done, something like that. You could have a verifiable credential that says, I've worked for these companies and they've made an attestation that I've worked for these companies. Then the on-chain attestation, the soul-bound token or the representation by NFT is just an attestation of the fact. So you would say, this individual has done over 1,000 GitHub repository check-ins, for example. But you wouldn't reveal the underlying, which repositories did they check into, what was the code, all that stuff. That's the verifiable credential. So it's really important to have the on-chain part so that smart contracts can access those attestations, but to keep private the verifiable underlying credential, I think is the key.
This is a really cool model. I really like it.
That's what we're doing at Civic.
Civic.com. You got it.
So
Thanks.
let's step off of digital identities a little bit and move on to creator economy. So let's talk a little bit about how you see NFTs empowering the creator economy, because we know more and more people are getting into creating on platform, on different channels. how do you see NFTs playing a part in this?
Well, at Frequency, this is our favorite topic. We connect creators with brands and communities almost on a daily basis. And I really see this as 3 M's of the creator economy. And in terms for us to be able to succeed long term in terms of massive onboarding, the first M is monetization, right? Again, what we touched on earlier is the creators really will be able to generate royalties or some sort of products or projects that will be able to create revenues that then can share with other creators like never before. Today, within the creator economy, on Instagram, everyone's basically just relying on the algorithm, or what's going to happen with Twitter, nobody knows. So there is really this key point of ownership and democratization. The second M is mass scale. I truly believe influencers will be the people who help be the stewards of Web3. I think because it is a personal cultural lens, people will be easier onboarded through influencers rather than aggregators like Microsoft or Meta. And then the third M is mobility, right? I think with NFTs, we're now looking at several metaverse plays and wallet-to-wallet messaging where it is going to be extremely easy to jump cross-chain or have conversations with different types of wallets that don't just live on an L1 and L2. And so I think for me personally, I'm very excited to see how these 3 M's blend together and how much money the ecosystem is truly coming to have. I think McKinsey projected Web3 in the metaverse to have a $5 trillion opportunity. So, what chunk of that is going to be the creator economy?
That's excellent. Wojtek, do you have any opinions on creator economy, NFTs?
I was still thinking about the model that Chris described for the credentials, so I kind of skipped this question. I'm sorry.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that we've observed, especially as NFTs became sort of hyperbolic in their growth, there was so much interest in NFTs, and a lot of it turned out to be fake. A lot of it turned out to be scammers coming in, and I really felt for the creators in that case because we worked with a lot of projects who were bringing NFTs to their communities, and they had gone through the trouble and the care to stand up Discord communities. They had engaged with these people. They really cared about the community, and what ended up happening at the 11th hour is bots would come in, steal all the NFTs, they'd turn those NFTs around, they'd flip them onto OpenSea, sell them into the secondary marketplace, push up the floor price so they could make more and more money. And people who, arguably were the ones who should receive these NFTs and be part of this creator economy were getting boxed out, and still are, of some of these NFT mint experiences. So I think one of the things that's really important for the industry is to provide tools so that creators have the ability to really get to that audience that they want to reach with their message, with their NFTs, and music. There's so many different kinds of ways that an artist can engage with their fan base, and I think it's incumbent on us as an industry to try and provide those tools to really allow those artists to launch in a way that's safe and fair.
Yeah, I think we've seen lots of NFT projects that use their NFTs as gating for their content or gating to get into different areas of their community. But I've seen some very unique uses of NFTs within the spaces. The Ed3 DAO is using their NFT to provide credentialing and certifications for educators so that they can have legitimate certifications for being Web3 educators. The NFT 365 project is using their NFTs to help bring creators along on the journey so that they can understand the process of buying NFTs and how to do the research and how to look on the different blockchains to see what projects may last and what projects may not. Giraffe Tower is building a complete CRM system focused on allowing creators to work together to integrate their offerings with each other and figure out better ways to make money and to track throughout the whole Web3 interface, how to track all your users through, whether it's using wallets or their interactivity on different social channels. So I think we're in a very exciting time right now in the Web3 space of experimentation and exploration and knowledge sharing. And that's one of the things I love about this space is everyone's just willing to share what they're doing and what they're working on and what's working and what's not working. So I think that's been fascinating. We've only got a few minutes left. Let's talk about what is most exciting to you in the blockchain, in the Web3 space now and in the future. Chris, you want to start with this, or? What?
You want to start?
I can go. I have strong opinions about that. So, straight up for me, the most interesting things that we can build right now is Web3 credentials. And again, whatever implementation you want to do, whatever models around rewarding people versus earning them versus collecting stuff. But Web3 credentials give us this power of representing ourselves as if address or a combination of addresses. You can be pseudonymous. You can even while preserving the anonymity, you can still prove that you are a legit person and you have a proper experience to get a job. And it's fascinating because it will enable people to jump into opportunities that were not really possible for them before because they didn't graduate from Oxbridge or from Stanford, Harvard, but it's visible on the internet that they are that they're competent and they can actually do the job. So yeah, I'm very excited about this part, especially discoverability that will be enabled by them by these credentials, and also getting out of the platforms like LinkedIn or other talent marketplaces that gatekeep your data, and their whole business model is only selling the data to the clients. So yeah, definitely the most interesting stuff for me. Jules?
I'm very excited to learn about what you're doing, so I would love to connect with you off the stage. But I think for me, what I'm most excited about is sometimes it feels like we're building Gmail plugins in 1998, and I think sometimes the team sits around for the next cool tech or some sort of product that someone is building. And so for what I'm excited about the most is all the wonderful builders that are going to join the ecosystem to create change within the ecosystem. And the one interesting thing that we've been seeing, even though it is the bear market and people are calling it ghost town, we've had conversations with some of the largest companies in the world who are building during this time. So it's definitely not a deterrence. I think people are building quietly until the market improves.
And I guess I would say I'm really excited to see disruption. I think there's a lot of companies who've been around for a very long time who have a unfair and unjust hold on how business gets done, how people interact with their friends, from everything from how we chat to how we share photos to how we get loans. And I think Web3 has the potential to disrupt major industries in a way that is really exciting, and it needs to be done. It's just a natural law. If one entity or group of entities has power for too long, innovation is stifled, they become a little bit too comfortable, and they start taking their customers for granted. And that's bad for the consumer, it's actually bad for society. So I think Web3 has the potential to overturn some of these legacy institutions, and it needs to happen, and it should happen.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely, especially in education. One of the things that excites me the most about this is I work at an institution where we have 6,000 students on campus paying $50,000 a year for quality education. Why can't we have the technology today to be able to provide that same education to 6 million students around the world for pennies, and to fund those that education by selling NFTs, tokenization, all sorts of ways that we can take the current education system and change it to make it a global system that doesn't have these same costs, doesn't put these same burdens on the students when they get out of college or once they get their credentials and their certifications. So I think, along what you were saying, changing industries and the ability to disrupt the way that things have been going for years, and things that we need to change. Our society has gotten to a point where we recognize that these are not capable systems. These are not systems built for the masses. They're systems built for small groups of people. We have the technology. We've seen through You know, through COVID, through remote learning, remote teaching, we can do all this. We can share these assets around the world. Why aren't we? We only have a little bit of time left. I'd love to tell everybody where they can reach out and connect with you if they want to.
Civic.com. You can find us.
Frequency.com, and my Twitter is Jules on the Daily.
Yeah, I'm so jealous of the .com domains. I'm in that XYZ.
Very, very expensive.
I know. Wojtek WTF on Twitter. My name, what the fuck. Yeah, that's me.
And Brian W. Piper everywhere. Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, bye-bye.